Welcome to episode 344 of CppCast, the first podcast for C++ developers by C++ developers. I'm your host, Rob Irving, joined by my co-host, Jason Turner. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm all right, Rob. How you doing?
Doing all right. You all set for the game jam?
Yes. So when this episode airs,
I
you
guess
will
it'll be
still
done.
have,
We're finishing up.
well, you'll have
Yeah,
1 weekend to still get
right.
involved if you really want to. And yeah, and I'm announcing the topic tomorrow morning, my time, but that'll be a week out from this episode airing. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, at the top of every episode, I like to read a piece of feedback. I got this DM from Jacob saying, "Hey guys, really enjoyed the conversation about Zig with Andrew. The Constexpr stuff seems really great. In particular, Constexpr, for it sounds like it would save a lot of boilerplate compared to C++. And he also would like to suggest Mark Homan, who has a long career in HPC and scientific computing, and thinks we should have an interesting conversation with him. In particular, two topics which we haven't discussed yet, which is Cocos and distributed algebra libraries like CppCast, which Mark is one of the authors of. Certainly sounds interesting.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I've personally had a lot of fun talking about other programming languages on here lately.
Yeah. The last few have all been other languages. I'm trying to think, are there any other ones we've mentioned recently that we have not yet done a show on? I know Zig and Julia came up a bit recently. R we've never done. That's true.
R came up in relationship to Julia.
Yeah. That could be a good one.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks for the feedback, Jacob, and we'd love to hear your thoughts about the show. You can always reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or email us at feedback@cppcast.com. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. Joining us today is Rainer Grimm. Rainer has worked as a software architect, team lead, and instructor since 1999. In 2002, he created company internal meetings for further education and has given training courses since 2002. In his spare time, he likes to write articles about C++, Python, and Haskell, and speak at conferences. He publishes weekly on his blog, Modernist CPP. Since 2016, he's been an independent instructor giving seminars about modern C++ and Python. In the last 10 years, he published several books in various languages about modern C++. Rainer is always searching for the best way to teach modern C++. Welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
And you've successfully moved to online training in the last couple of years. Is that right?
Successfully, you know how successfully. In some kind we are forced to move to online, but honestly, I like online seminars. They have a few benefits, but a few downsides. And the benefits are, for example, I can be recorded.
That's a benefit.
This is a big benefit. You have many participants who wants to go to kindergarten to pick up their children, so you can say, just record me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
additionally, you give as me worldwide seminars. I don't have to travel each day to a different hotel. Usually I'm in 50 hotels a year, and this is sometimes too much for me.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I wake up in the night and I don't know where I am. So it's quite, so I look, where's the window? Where's the door? Then I know, oh, happy, I'm at home, but sometimes not. This is really an issue when you are in 2 or 3 hotels in 1 week. And this is now a little bit more comfortable for me. I enjoy both of it.
That's good. I never traveled quite that much, but that experience of waking up and saying, where am I? I've never had that in a hotel room. I've only had that after I got back home. And the next morning I wake up, where am I? And I'm like, oh, right, I'm in my own bed. Okay.
And then you say to yourself, I can fall asleep once more because
I don't have to get up and teach someone something right
exactly.
now. Yes.
All right. Well, Rainer, we got a couple news articles to discuss. Feel free to comment on any of these, and then we'll start talking more about your training and the books and everything, okay? All right. So the first one we have here is N2 Revisiting Ninja. And in this post, the author is talking about how they're, I guess, trying to make a newer version of Ninja. And one of the key things they're changing is that instead of basing everything off last modified times, making a hash of the file and just seeing if the hash has changed. Right, Jason?
Yeah, and it seems like they've had a surprising amount of success just re-implementing Ninja to see if they could make it better as well. They said it can build, what is it, this large project with like 1,100 rules or something like that? Forget what the number is.
Yeah,
Anyhow.
I have to add something. Do you recognize this strange looking URL? Neugierig.org. Do you know what this means? This is the German. This is the German Turk for curious. You know, this is the reason why I'm here. He used the German term in his URL. I don't know why, because he is not from German, due to his name.
No, I did not even think about the URL.
Yeah, I was astonished to read it. Only.
Did the author say whether like he's putting N2 out, like if someone wanted to use it instead of Ninja as a build tool? I think it is linked.
There's a
here.
GitHub. Yeah, there's a GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a drop-in replacement for Ninja theoretically, if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool.
That seems to be built with Rust.
Oh, I missed that part. Okay.
Is that right? I didn't notice that either. No, yep, it's definitely Rust.
Okay. Next thing we have is a update on Qt. Creator 7 has been released, and a bunch of updates in here about changes to the IDE. They're now targeting C++ 17 by default. Are you a user of Qt Creator, Rainer?
A little bit ago, between 22 and 24, I used it heavily, but I looked at it 3, 4, 5 years ago. As I was responsible for defibrillator, we needed some GUI framework. And I was totally astonished how it changed in this 10 years. This was, for me, mind-blowing, honestly. This was the last touch with Qt I had in the last years. So once more, I used it 22, 24, so forget about me. This was a different
I haven't used it
Qt.
in a long time either, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have
It totally changed.
Okay.
What was
have
that,
we had
Jason?
anyone to talk about Qt Creator itself on the podcast? Because that could be an interesting topic as well.
I want to say we have, but it's been a while, and I don't recall who the guest would have been.
It's interesting.
We certainly talked about Qt before. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it a little. Yeah, here and there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing we have is an update to CMake. Version 3.23 is out. Lots of release notes in here, as always. Anything worth highlighting in this latest version of CMake?
I find it interesting that install targets command can now automatically grab headers that might need to be installed. That's interesting. I also find it interesting because I basically know nothing about CMake presets at all, but I am working with people who do use CMake presets, and it feels like a complicated set of stuff that I'd rather not be dealing with. But now CMake presets can include other files. So now you can have levels of complexity, depending on how cynical you're feeling at the moment, I guess.
I also have a mention here that the IBM OpenXL C++ compiler, which is based on LLVM, is now supported. It's referred to as IBM Clang. I think we mentioned that IBM changing to Clang a while ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of little updates for installers and finders and testing. Yeah, CPAC. There's a lot of changes in here.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a bunch of them from Craig Scott, actually, who we had on the podcast back in 2000.
Yeah, and he's the one who makes the CMake like best practices book, I believe, right?
Yeah, yes, but now that you said that, I can't remember the actual name of the book.
Something like that. It might be CMake best practices.
No, it's not best practices.
Okay.
It's professional CMake, I think.
That could be it. All right. And then the last thing we have is a post on cppstories.com, and this is C++ 20 ranges, the key advantage algorithm composition. And these posts are always great. I'll be honest, I did not have a chance to fully read through it. So Jason and Rainer, I'm hoping you can help me out with this one.
I also, I think it's a great post because it's not so long, but it comes exactly to the point. And the point is, he explains the benefit of composition. He starts historically with legacy C++, how you did it before C++20 with function, temporaries, and all the stuff. Then he makes the next evolution step and uses ranges, but uses it using function composition. It's a little bit difficult to read, but at least you get rid of all these temporaries, which makes a lot of sense. And now he makes the final step, which means using the pipe operator. Now you compose them and can program in a functional style. And now it's really nice to read, and you just read it and you understand it. If you are a little bit used to this syntax and you know it from Unix, the pipe operator, so come on.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. I never really thought about it that way. Like, because yeah, even DOS has pipe operator, right?
I'm not so sure. Maybe you're right, but I'm not so sure. DOS is too long ago for me. This was the last millennium.
Now I'm questioning my statement. I'm pretty sure it does. You can do pipe through more. Yeah. Anyhow.
I know it heavily from Unix or Linux anyway.
Right.
I think maybe PowerShell can do it.
PowerShell can, of course, do it because PowerShell is defined as a composition of bash and object orientation. When you read it in Wikipedia, so you see bash and object orientation, and bash is based on pipes, so we have it.
Okay. Yeah, I've not gotten into PowerShell, but I know people like, well, anyhow, I've seen people tweet about using PowerShell on every operating system they're on, because it's easy to install. Even there's Linux packages and whatever. I can't bring myself to do that.
I'm also used to bash, so I always look for bash shell-like syntax and my pipes operators, and then you can combine this stuff, and it's quite easily to build something big out of something small.
Right.
All right. Well, Rainer, obviously you have a lot going on in your bio, and we've mentioned you and some of your blog posts so many times before on the show that before scheduling you, Jason and I both thought we had you on before.
I know it.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you got started blogging and how long you've been doing it for?
Okay, let me only say a few words. I started blogging in German because, my English was really, really bad. So I started, of course, in German. This is, by the way, the reason my blog is called Modernes C++, because modernes is the German term for modern, you see. Mm-hmm. After I started around 2015, after half a year, people asked me, please do it in English. I said, oh no, my English is so bad. So I put the auto-translate button on my German blog. And this was even more worse. Therefore, the people said to me, please try it at least. So I tried to translate my posts from German into English. I had on my first steps a few proofreaders who helped me to improve my English. And then I continued publishing each week 2 English posts and 1 German post until they both become lockstep. And from that point on, I write in English and translate in German, and I publish in German and in English the same material.
Oh, wow.
Because what is strange is I had a poll in German and asked my reader, do you prefer to read in English or in German? And you will not believe it, most of them want to read it in German.
Oh.
Therefore, I have to do it in 2 languages.
Do you keep track of metrics, like how many readers you get on the English versus the German pages?
This is a little bit an unfair comparison because my German blog is hosted on a very extremely well-known page. And therefore, I got on both pages about 50,000 readers a week. So on my own English and on the Heise hosted German version.
Okay.
Heise is this German platform. In German, it's called Heise Developer. Developer should be clear for you, and Heise is just the name of it.
Okay. So about 50,000 each. That sounds like a lot of readers, though. I mean, all told.
Yeah, I'm totally astonished on it, honestly. But you know it, Jason, the same holds for you. We are always astonished when we count our participants or reader, and also here, when you count the participants or guests, or how should I say it, the listeners of these podcasts. Mm-hmm. When you do something for a long time and you do it regularly, this is the side effect.
Right. Yeah, my YouTube channel last time I checked had millions of views, which just seemed unbelievable.
I have also views with posts which were read more than 300,000 times. This is unbelievable.
Wow.
I don't want to say about which topic, because this word is not. I could not say it here.
You couldn't say it. Okay.
What is the most emotional topic in software development or technique?
Emotional.
I don't know.
Not sure.
Singleton, of course. Don't write about Singleton. Or if you want to be famous, write about Singleton. So anyway.
I should make a new episode. Stop using singletons.
Yeah, I know it. Now I have an issue here.
Right.
Please cut it out. Cut it out.
Well, in addition to... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to mention, since 28, I write for magazines in German articles. I started with Python, but then I switched sometimes to C++. And in 2011, I wrote my first book. And this is kind of my history.
2011, okay. How many books have you written so far?
Yeah. Now, this is an interesting question. I had to count them. I would say 6. I'm not so sure, because one book is I translated in different languages. I did it myself, so between English and German. Mm-hmm. One of them, the concurrency book, I updated 7 times because it's published on LeanPub, and honestly, I'm never done, because C++ is never done, so you can write something additionally about it. You see, we have C++ 23, so there is some change. I have to reflect this in my book, therefore I'm never done.
We keep releasing new C++ standards so that you and I still have a job of being
This is what I mentioned, what I said to my wife 2 years ago. I said, hooray, I'm done. Until I have enough to teach until I retire with C++ 20. You see, C++ 20, at least 10 years. From that point on, we can teach at least 10 years C++ 20, maybe more.
True, yeah. Yeah,
I still request for C++ 11.
Yeah, I still sometimes have clients that say we're looking to move to C++ 11, and
like, embeddish.
Really? What year is it? Like, so of all you said approximately 6 books, are they all in German and English, or?
The next difficult questions. Most of them are in German or English, but a few of them are also available in Korean, in Russia, or in Persia, if I'm right, yeah. Oh. And nowadays, a few of my stuff is translated into Japanese, which makes a lot of fun for me because I cannot help.
Right.
I cannot even find my name on the cover, you see?
That's funny. Is your picture still on the back, though, or anything like that?
Sorry, what do you mean?
I said your picture, because often the books covers have the author's photo on the back cover.
I'm not sure. I have to look. I have it here on my right, but I will look. I will do it afterwards.
So when they do these translations, then do you get a physical copy of the book also?
In this case, I get 3 copies of it. When you do it, in the first case, you get typically 10 copies of it.
10 copies, okay. I had one company reach out to me and ask if they could do a Chinese translation of my book, and I responded with, just send me an example contract. I'm curious what the details look like, how much will I make, whatever. And they never responded after that. So that's where I am.
Yeah. Then you see how serious this question was.
Yeah. I thought it was a reasonable question to ask. I'm like, I didn't turn it down because there's no way I'm ever going to create a Chinese translation, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think we talked about you most recently in a previous episode, Rainer, when we talked about your course/mentorship program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, this is, let me say a little bit about my motivation.
Sure.
Maybe, Jason, you also know it. Before I give a class, I have a talk with my customers, and they say what they want to have. And they, most of the time, are really, really ambitious. Then I go to the class, I say any keyword in C++, such as virtual, and all people look in different directions.
Right.
And I immediately know this was a total lie. And this is a bad seminar, a bad class. So what I prepared for this use case is material which I can use therefore and say, now we do something totally different. Okay. Now we explain to you what is OO, what are templates. So just the basic stuff. So I did that. I created a course in which I explained what a professional C++ developer should know about C++, including core language, including library. And you know what? I ended with 450 slides, and this is way too much for a class. This would take me 7 days.
Okay.
This is the first issue. So I have class material for a class I could never give, because I will not give a class longer than 3 days, because afterwards I'm totally exhausted.
Well, and the students are exhausted too.
3 days are enough for you and for the students, of course. You know it.
Oh yeah, it's very difficult to convince people that sometimes.
Yeah, but after the second day, they understand you.
Right.
Maybe earlier. Yeah, and this is first my motivation. So I put all together what I think you should know, including C++ 17. Okay. And then I have the second issue. I'm pretty overbooked. For 2022, I'm booked, and I already gave a few seminars to my colleagues because I cannot do it anymore. So I have here a big issue. I want to teach C++, but I cannot do it. I can only give 45 seminars a year or classes a year. This is what I typically do. So I thought about a mentoring program, and my idea is the following. I want to teach in 9 months what I would regard you need to know to be a professional C++ developer. Okay. So I assume people which are from the university or which will change inside the company or have a little bit of rusty C++ knowledge. And I will teach them in 28 steps in 9 months what is necessary. And my idea is that it should work beside the daily workload you have. So the company just gives you 3 additional hours, and then they could participate. Because my idea is you have to invest at least 3 hours a week.
A week, okay.
And then you can master it. And I will help you. And what I prepare is the following. As I mentioned, 28 steps. It consists essentially of 3 parts. It has a theoretical part in which I record all stuff which is necessary. I have a lot of slides, a lot of videos, a few of them 2 minutes, a few of them 50 minutes when it comes to move semantics, for example. Then I have a practical part in this week when I explain the exercises and the solutions. Of course, the participants get the exercises and the solutions, the CPP file. And on Friday, I have a Q&A session in which the participants can ask me questions which they had during the mastering of the theoretical and the practical stuff. Okay. This is my idea. And they also can reach me by email. And additionally, because I talked about mentoring, because it's called mentoring, they can have a one-to-one talk with me during those 9 months and, of course, at the end. because I want to help them how they can go further, what they want to do with the stuff they learned. If they want to go in more detail in one or the other areas, such as concurrency, templates, clean code, patterns, and you know what I mean. So I have a lot of stuff pre-prepared, I have a lot of stuff, so I could prepare a lot of stuff. I have essentially written up almost 500 blog posts. So you see, there's a lot of stuff. And so I prepared something for them. Also, a few of my back to basics talks. So there's a lot of stuff. And of course, many videos. Each week, 12 to 15. And now you can multiply it by 28. So you see, there's a lot of stuff I have to record. And this is my idea. And I want to mentor them. And I'm a big fan of this mentoring program. Why? Because I'm also a mentee. So I'm also mentored by a German guy, and I see the benefit. I forgot to mention, I also want to build a community. So I have a forum, because these people should help each other.
Right.
Because I see a big benefit in people who wants to achieve the same goal and they are really, really engaged. And I know it because I'm also a part of such a movement. Okay, this was quite fast, quite concise. Do you have any understanding questions? Sorry.
So you said about 3 hours a week is the...
This is okay, yeah.
Okay.
At least 3 hours, but I have material for 6-7 hours. But to master these programs, you need at least to invest 3 hours.
For
but
9 months.
You can have additional blog posts. For mine, I use also one which I got from Bartek, which you mentioned before.
Yeah,
because I know him quite good, and I have videos, I have books, I have a lot of material. Honestly, I'm totally, how should I say it, astonished how much material I produced the last 50 years. So I have a lot of stuff which I can build to make something big. Because I want to help people to learn C++, and I have to say it from a different perspective. I know nowadays many companies which internally create such mentoring programs because they want to have good C++ programmer, but they are not available on the market. Therefore, they have to teach themselves. They have to teach them. They have to mentor them.
Right.
And here's where I want to kick in.
So you said it's a 9-month program, is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
And how often is the one-on-one times that you said that the students can meet with you?
2 times. I have a 1 hour one-on-one meeting with one, and another one are question and answer sessions in which the people or participants can ask me questions.
Okay.
And I will also record these questions in case they are of a general concern or I have some issue in my stuff, then I would react and do it once more. Anyway, I do it the first time, therefore, of course, there are possibilities to improve, or the potential to improve.
And you said that you want to build a community around it, and I'm just curious, are you going for like Discord or?
So far, I have a forum which works on a question answer base.
Okay.
This is my first attempt. If this will not work out the way it works out, I will do it differently. But as I mentioned, I'm also part of a mentoring program, and here it works quite good.
So if your students, they sign up for the 9-month program, do they then have access to that forum forever?
For this 9 months.
For the 9 months, okay.
This is a good point. I will not go into any extremely advanced stuff. The idea of this mentoring program is to enable you to dive afterwards into more advanced stuff.
Right.
And when this works out, and it seems it will work out quite good, I will create additional mentoring programs in which I make this additional topics such as concurrency, such as generics, such as design patterns, such as clean code or called best practices, such as embedded, maybe such as how can Python and C++ interact in some way, because I'm also a Python trainer.
Right.
So extending embedded is the keyword here. And this is my idea. I want to build something which helps the people in the first step, but also gives them an additional way to go. And I'm quite convinced that this is an extremely good way to teach something.
So when does this first, oh, sorry.
Okay, please continue.
I was just going to ask, when does this first round of mentoring, what's the actual start date here?
In a few days, 22nd of April, and until the 17th of April, you can register for it.
Up to the 17th of April, okay.
So,
I heard listeners should have like a week or two to sign up still when this comes out.
This is my point, yeah. And in the first iteration, I will, how should I say it, publish each week after each other, and in the second iteration, which may happen next year, each one can do it self-paced. But so far, I cannot pre-produce all the stuff. This is a lot of stuff, in particular the videos. You see.
Oh yeah.
I'm now at week 11, so I'm quite good. You see, 28, but this is a lot of stuff you have to pre-record.
That sounds like a lot of material. When did you actually start the planning process for this?
I had it in my mind since maybe 10 years, honestly.
Oh, wow.
I'm since 22 involved in company intern first education. I hope you know what I mean. I created a group to learn new stuff. I did it 24 in my former company, and I'm always involved in some way of helping people to become better.
Okay.
Because this is what I like. This is what I love. And honestly, since 28, I give remote seminars for quite a time. So, and I strongly believe that this kind of education or teaching is better than a classical class in which you stand 3 days in front of someone. After 3 days, they are totally exhausted. Maybe they don't have the time to apply the theory in practice. You should accompany them and mentor them for a longer period of time. And my idea is that the companies will accept that, and they just get 3 additional hours per week. And this is all. And then they can come to me. This is my idea.
Okay. So how much does the program actually cost then for our listeners who are curious?
First of all, we have to name the unit, euro, 2,250, which is only because it's the first iteration, honestly. Because in the first iteration, I have to improvise sometimes a little bit.
Right.
And it would be a 20-25 days class when you would do it in the other way. So you see, this is a lot of content.
Oh yeah, if you looked at it as a 20-day class, then it's basically free. I mean, relatively.
It's not free, but it's affordable. Let me say it in this way.
And it's open to people anywhere in the world as long as they have a credit card that will let them buy something in euro.
Yeah, you see, the only people who have problems to buy something. Sorry, this should not. I don't want to annoy you, other people from the US. And you can use bank transfer. You can use Stripe, meaning each credit card. You can even use PayPal. So anything you can, how should I say it? Always out of a check.
Okay. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem for pretty much anyone then.
There's one challenge here. I have people from Australia and from the US.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I will probably make 2 Q&A sessions at Friday. One for the Australia people and one for US people, because there is no overlap regarding time here.
Right.
Is there a certain number of mentorees you're trying to or hoping to get enrolled? Like how many slots might be left, or are you open to as many people as? Yeah.
I don't have a limit, honestly,
Okay.
because when there are too many people, I will make additional Q&A session, which makes it easier for me, because now I can do it exactly in the time zone the people wants to have it. I assume that there will be, today I have about 50 people, but so far it's not officially started, or how should I say it? There are still 3 weeks left, and I assume that there will be 30, 40 people, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so this episode, just to make sure we all understand, will air on April 8th.
Yeah.
Or the night of April 7th, depending on when it actually goes out, something like that. And as far as US time, Eastern time is concerned. So our listeners should have at least a week to decide if they want to get involved and figure out how to pay you and all that kind of stuff.
And of course, they can directly contact me if some question arises or something like that.
Right. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go on.
I was just considering some interactions that I've had with some of our C++ community in Nigeria, which has sometimes a very difficult time with international banking because unfortunately there's so many scams that come out of that part of the world. And so if someone from Nigeria, for example, is having a hard time getting payment through, they can, I assume, contact you directly and try to figure out the details.
Yeah, this is really this is the hardest issue. I was already blamed by my wife that I made an error because my wife is responsible for the money, you see.
All right.
I only do the easy stuff. I only teach C++. She does the heavy stuff. And therefore I enabled all what is possible. Therefore, I hope that for each one, there's a way to do it. And if not, contact me. We will find a way, I assume. Because you know it, Jason, when you give international training, sometimes it's really difficult.
Fortunately, that has always worked out for me. International bank transfer has always worked out for me when I've gone to a company. I haven't had a problem with that. Although I did just the other day have a problem getting payment from someone, a relatively small payment over PayPal. But it turned out it was actually a problem with their PayPal account, not a problem with anything else.
And PayPal is quite expensive. 8% or something like that. Stripe is only 3%, and this is also something you should consider. And I had a few issues with payment, but I think we can handle that.
Okay.
So with all the work you've been doing training C++ developers over the years, are there any particular mistakes or things you find yourself teaching a lot to C++ programmers in your classes? Anything?
I have to say, let me think about it.
Sure.
Let me do it a little bit differently. This is not C++ related.
Okay.
I think we should have an extremely we should have a mindset. Never assume that you are done learning. Mm-hmm. This is for me the most important point. Mm-hmm. And when you put it another way, when you today read the code you produced 2 years ago and you don't want to change it, this means you learned nothing in between.
Right.
And you should always be open to the new ways to program something and always questions the thing, how you do it or how you did it. And this is an extremely important observation. Let me say it a little bit different. Maybe you know it. I have 3 educations. I'm a male nurse. I'm a parametric and I studied mathematics. Okay. So now I'm more a mathematic guy. And what I like about my job is that I'm always challenged to learn something new. And this is what I love about training. I have the time to learn this new stuff. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated, such as coroutines. but but you know what I mean.
Does C++
This is what I
actually
love
have
about.
coroutines yet? Yeah.
Go on, sorry, Jason.
I said, does C++ actually have coroutines yet, since there's no support library for them? Sorry, I was just being a little cynical here.
Now we have coroutines. For one reason, Haskell has monads, we have coroutines. This means when you are a kind of a writer, you have to write in some day in the future a tutorial about explaining coroutines.
Right.
Such as each one writes a tutorial about coroutines and at least one understands it, the writer, but no one else.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
And this is the same about monads. Each has the special view on monads in Haskell, so we have coroutines.
Right. Yes, it's that joke that once you understand monads, you have to write an article about it, but there's no way to.
I see we will do the same with coroutines in C++.
Huh.
I also wrote about coroutines, and the guy reading it said he didn't understand it. But at least I understand it. I assume at least.
Oh my goodness.
Hopefully in the future, when we have more library support, they'll be more understandable, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah.
I was thinking about your comment that you need to have this mentality of always learning. Because I've had a few classes where I come in and I'm like, oh, so this is the whole team that's here. And they're like, well, it's the whole team except for Bob, because Bob is our expert and he already knows all this stuff. And I'm like, I think Bob should probably be in the class too, because I mean, you know, it's like, I'm always nervous about the one person that they say they already know all this stuff, therefore they're not in the class.
Do you know what kind of class are the most difficult ones? When you have two people in the class who wants to prove they are the smartest one in the room, and they challenge each other. And here you have to be extremely careful. I often say to these people, I will not answer any question in front of the others. I only will answer your question in the breaks. They can destroy your class.
I don't think I've ever had that particular problem.
I had sometimes an extremely nice experience, which was extremely interesting. I gave a workshop in front of 100 people, so a big workshop.
That's huge.
It was really huge. It was a part of a conference. And always there was one participant who always questions my sentences. And after 4 hours of this 6-hour workshop, one stand up from the other participants and said to this special guy, please stop asking your questions. You only annoy us. And you know what the other people did? They applauded.
Oh, no.
For 50 people. And what was more interesting, the guy who was the man who always asked this sophisticated question was not going outside. He just waited. He of course stopped to ask questions, but this was extremely interesting. This never happened to me.
Yeah, sometimes I have the student that asks questions that are completely irrelevant to the topic at hand at the moment, and I have to say, well, we'll talk about that later. Sometimes I have the students that go, this is a stupid question. And I'm like, no, please, if you think your question is stupid, it's the question that literally everyone needs answered in the room right now. It's probably like, I forgot to cover some basic topic. So your question means we need to go backwards a little bit.
In this regard, off-site trainings are better because you can talk to them one by one and no other will hear what you talk with him or her.
Okay. Yeah, it's, I mean, just funny to think about all of these different aspects, because usually, so one thing that I missed in the few on-site, remote trainings that I've done is that the best questions I get tend to be during the break or during lunch. So I'll say, okay, we'll take a break. And then someone will come up and be like, well, I didn't think anyone else would care about this question, but And I'm like, oh, that question's perfect. That question's amazing. We need to talk about that question when everyone comes back. But when I've done remote training, no one has done that. They don't like, send me an IM or ask for, to give me a quick question. Maybe my classes are just not organized well for that.
This is exactly what I miss in online trainings. We need a way to make a one-to-one communication. And this is for what I hope. You can now do it with this conference tools, but not with Zoom.
Right.
And I just want to look at their screen and see how good they are with my exercise. And if not, I can help them directly. But this is not possible in our online training. This is one of the stuff I don't like about online training. So there are benefits and the opposite of it.
Right. So out of curiosity, I mean, you're in Germany, right? We've talked about that. Is our on-site trainings currently a thing in Germany? Do you have any on-site things scheduled?
Only the last 2 weeks. All other trainings were online. Last week before I was in Switzerland, and the week afterwards in some point in Germany. But I assume that also in the long run, 2/3 of the training will take place online. This is more than just a COVID thing. This is a movement because about how should I say, pollution, about how expensive petrol is and stuff like that. This will go in this direction. And additionally, when you give a seminar outside of Germany, the customer has to pay my flight, my hotel. So it's way, way, way more expensive.
Right.
I definitely know in our industry, people are not really necessarily anxious to go back to the office every day.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
So many articles, at least in America, about, like when Google says everyone has to come back to the office, how many of them are going to quit instead of coming back to the office, for example.
Really, Google?
Well, any of the big companies, because Google
and
Apple and
I see the
Microsoft have all
point.
been talking about that, yeah. Like, because people say, well, C++ programmers or whatever, IT people are in hot demand right now. I can find a remote job. I don't have to go back to your stuffy office in expensive Silicon Valley or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a good point. This is something this is special for the US. We have no Silicon Valley here.
Although, yeah, it is a very expensive area. Yeah.
No, we have expensive areas, but not in the case you have it.
Right.
Such as Munich is quite expensive, or Berlin, but forget it. Don't compare it with London, Paris, or the stuff you mentioned.
Yeah, San Francisco. Amsterdam is one of the most expensive cities in the world too, I believe. If you want to be in the core of Amsterdam.
Okay, maybe. I only sometimes had an interview with Facebook, which was London. I was totally astonished. You will get, now I have a big room, which is extremely comfortable. This one I could not afford in London. And this is for me really, really bad, because I want to live not in a big town, and I want to have a nice surrounding with a lot of nature. Right. And this is, of course, not possible in London.
No, not in London. No. But there's plenty of rural Germany accessible to you.
What do you mean, François?
There's lots of rural settings in Germany that are lovely.
Yeah.
So, Rainer, before we let you go, I think you have some conferences coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're planning on doing at ACCU?
At ACCU, I give a talk about hidden pearls in C++, meaning C++20, sorry. With the hidden pearls, I mean all minus the big four. Coroutines, modules, ranges, and concepts, of course.
Okay.
Because C++, there's so much stuff inside. Just think about the Chrono library. You need 80 pages to describe it, more than coroutines.
Wow.
So if you have enough time, Rob and Jason, study it. There's a lot of stuff in the Chrono library, a lot of additional clocks and so on and so on.
Right. Yeah, I keep meaning to go back to the changes in C++20 for Chrono, and I haven't done that yet. I need to do a C++ Weekly episode about Chrono entirely, which I haven't done, so perhaps.
Yeah, you have now a date, you have daytime, there's a lot of additional stuff.
Yeah, all the calendar features too, right?
Yeah, this is incredibly, but also a little bit challenging to understand,
right?
To say it a little bit.
All right. So, Rainer, if our listeners are interested in signing up for your mentoring program or just finding other stuff online, where's the best place to go?
Oh, there are many places. What should I say? You can read my English, my blog posts, modernes c++.com.
Mm-hmm.
I emphasize .com, not .de, .com.
Okay.
Then I will publish each Monday a new blog post. My next 2 ones are about templates, because I explicitly choose templates because people know too less about templates. We have a big templates issue in the C++ community. And afterwards, I continue to write about C++20, and I started with C++23. But of course, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me as a mentor. Sorry, there are many ways to find me.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I'm happy to be that I was your guest.
Thank you.
Okay.